When I
We have
hear
personal
friends
experience,
saying,
right?
oh, I've come to the Legion today because my apartment is 82 degrees and I can't stand to be there, that's a concern. And that's in one of the just apartment buildings for people that are seniors. And I know other people had it even higher than that.
Living in your own home shouldn't put your health at risk. As climate change leads to hotter summers, members of ACORN gathered in downtown Calgary demanding protection for renters. The social justice group is calling for a bylaw that would limit maximum indoor temperatures in rental housing. Retired nurse Bridget Rouane says she's seen firsthand how dangerous excessive heat can be for seniors and people with disabilities.
I have worked for people that were handicapped and in apartment scenarios where they didn't have air conditioning. And we know people die from heat exhaustion and heat stress every year. Seniors are more vulnerable, so are the handicapped. And we need to put an end to that. We need to have some minimums and maximums for heat and cold and follow those. And when they don't, that they get something happening to them so that they follow through to continue to work for people versus profit. That's the bottom line.
I heard you say you were an LPN.
I was an LPN.
Yeah. So you've had experience. Tell me a little bit more about what you saw in homes in terms of heat.
Well, they keep the heat on in most of those nursing homes because people aren't moving. They're in a chair. They can't move. So to help us, they would have fans all over the floor, but you're still in that heat.
Seniors are more at risk for many reasons. They often live alone or have dementia or have chronic health conditions that worsen during hot weather. Certain medications affect heat tolerance, and as we age, our bodies become less efficient at cooling and we get a decreased sense of thirst.
One of my friends told me I had to come here today because it's too hot to stay at home. You know, a lot of times we drive to the mall and do our walking there because it's cooler or it's warmer.
Yeah. Could you describe your place? Does it get
Well,
warm?
it gets warm, but we luckily enough have trees all around to keep us cooler, and so we love that, even though they're kind of, some of those got hit too, but we left the integrity of the tree, even though it's like half dead, to maintain what life it has left, you know. And so we're blessed by the trees. 3 essentials are, food, clothing, and shelter. When you're not getting proper shelter to cool you in the summer or to heat you in the winter, then you're being denied a basic right. You're being denied a basic human right. So this is why there needs to be standards, or they need to issue pumps to people that are facing constant sun all day, or something. It needs to change. We have to have healthy homes, and that is not healthy. That puts people at risk.
You know, I've been injured on the job myself, and I think we're not aware of what really goes on in society. And how people are affected negatively, and just because it doesn't hit the news. But there are lots of issues like heat, like workplace injuries, like a lot of other things, and general health of the population that are not being attended to as well as they should be, given the ways and means that a province like Alberta has.
Mike, why was it important for you to come out here and get involved with ACORN and talk about this issue about heat?
Well, being a senior and low income, and I kind of fit the profile of many of our ACORN members, and we're all subject to the same living conditions in the province of Alberta, and with low income, it's not easy for anyone.
And that's what we need council to pay attention to. And if there are infractions happening, they need to be penalized for it.
Yeah. And you
because
as
it's
a
not
nurse,
acceptable.
well, and you as a nurse, you see that. Like you
Oh,
see
yeah.
how it affects
Yeah.
seniors in the heat.
Yeah.
What have you seen in the past?
Well,
How
you know,
heat
they're
affects
they're
them?
listless. They don't want to get up because they're too hot. You know. Then you got to make sure they're continuously hydrated. Not everybody has the same consciousness about, you know, taking care of your people. And so you have to push as much fluid on them as you can. A lot of the medications they're on dry them out to begin with. And then you got that extra causing more trouble. A lot of them will tell you they're cold because of the fans, but that's because they're not moving. They're in a wheelchair. They can't move. You know, we have to advocate for people, and that's what I'm doing. Advocating for others that can't fight for themselves.
We're demanding that the city implement a maximum temperature bylaw of 26 degrees Celsius inside rental units, as well as implementing a program for subsidized air conditioners for low-income seniors and disabled people. And we want the city to start tracking heat-related deaths and illnesses, because with worsening climate change, we're experiencing worsening health outcomes from this. It's not just it predominantly affects low-income seniors and disabled people, but heat is not something that discriminates. We can all die from heat, but we don't deserve to die in our homes just because we're renters. My landlord wants me to pay $200 a year to use my own air conditioner, and I pay my own energy bills. I'm very, very grateful that I live on a corner suite, but I'm still on the 9th floor and south-facing, so it gets to well above 30 degrees in the summer, and
Inside your place?
inside my place. And it's really difficult to cool, especially if there's like wildfire smoke outside or stampede noise. You can't sleep at night, so how do they expect me to pay $200 a year to use my own air conditioner? It's just nonsense.
How are you fighting that?
We're going to City Hall across Canada and the world. Actually, we're all demanding that different municipalities and provinces, depending on the jurisdiction levels and all that, implement a maximum temperature bylaw so that people don't die. Like we saw over 600 seniors in 2021 die in their apartments and suites because of that heat dome. And I think that we pay a lot to be there, and we deserve to, as the RTA says, the Residential Tenant Act of Alberta, we deserve peaceful enjoyment of our suites. And how can you peacefully enjoy your suite when you're cooking to death?
Right.
So we're calling on the city to start recording heat-related deaths and illnesses, especially because the province isn't doing anything. They're not listening to us on so many issues, and it's just, they're callous, and the city needs to step up because we need hyper-local solutions for hyper-local issues. Like for during the winter, there's a minimum temperature rule through Alberta Health Services. Well, it's like, how do I say? It's enforced by Alberta Health Services, but if your heat goes out and your landlord does nothing about it, it takes well over 2 weeks just for AHS, Alberta Health Services, to come out and investigate. And by then, the issue's passed and your suite's warm enough to them. And it's not okay. Like, we're too slow to change for the needs of the people now, and slow to even recognize or, even rolling back climate-specific policy that helps everybody long-term and makes Canada a place that you can actually survive in. And when we don't recognize the impact of fossil fuels and climate change and climate-related disasters that we're seeing on a worsening basis every year, we're shirking that responsibility to the younger people. And I don't even expect to live past 50 at this point, and it's absolutely disgusting.
Is air conditioning the answer?
It's a patchwork of solutions. So air conditioning, heat pumps, better insulation, maintaining actually allowing people to install curtains, because I'm not allowed to install proper curtains at my house. So how can I keep the heat out effectively? Plus, so many windows that we're seeing in especially older buildings or new builds too, they don't open past here, and in older buildings they're caulked shut. I haven't given up hope, but it feels hopeless, and we deserve better. I'm only 28. Like, I'll say this as a business owner. If I'm making a bunch of money from my business and I'm not implementing or reinvesting that money into my business or my property, for example, then don't I deserve to reap the costs and not reap the costs, but like have to pay more later in a lawsuit? Because if somebody dies because of my negligence, there's a lawsuit on your hands, and it's unacceptable. Even in workplaces too, older buildings that now have a store, they get over 30 degrees inside, and workers are then affected too. Plus, landlords, I've heard so many stories of people in the summer, the landlord just forgets to turn the boiler off, and it's boiling. It's hotter inside than it's outside. And people have even told me they're sleeping on their balconies just to not die inside. Think of the pets too.
How long have you been involved with ACORN?
Since April of 2024, I think. Yeah. I found a poster in my neighborhood after leaving yet another awful job that was really abusive. I just quit out of nowhere, and I'm like, they're doing an action at Main Street. I didn't live with Main Street, and I haven't, knock on wood, yet. But I saw this, and I went to the action. I was all nervous and stuff, but I saw people from ACORN talking like about all sorts of different issues, and not necessarily all agreeing, but they were able to have conversations in a way that wasn't like shutting each other down. And I tried to get involved in different socialist organizations when my friends were in university, and I was working 5 jobs just to survive and eat. But I would be shut down because, oh, well, you haven't even read Marx. How could you know anything about socialism? And I'm like, well, how could you, how do I say this? You can read Marx all you want, but if you haven't lived it, then you don't understand the fundamentals, and you don't get to shame people for not reading a book. But with ACORN, everybody's on an equal level, and there's none of that hierarchy, and I love that. It's a gendered issue too, because women especially, like, we're at risk, like women and like people living in female bodies, like, we are more susceptible to the heat long term, especially when you look at things like division of labor in the house, who's spending more time cooking and cleaning and exerting themselves in the house when, say, a husband works in an air-conditioned office. All these things intersect, and it's really important that we recognize that. But it also brings it, all these intersections bring us together for this issue, where we can all relate, like, well, my mother-in-law has an air conditioner. What does this mean for everybody else? Or, what is the cost, profit, benefit, whatever, analysis for the landlord? But it's like, this does actually affect everybody across barriers.
What would you recommend people do that are watching this, that are like, I'm living in a warm building, and what would you recommend people do?
First of all, look into first aid. And notice signs of heat exhaustion in yourself and others. Start freezing water bottles and like putting towels with water in the freezer and fridge to keep yourself cool. Try to look at different, like if you can't install an air conditioner, see if there's a way that you can dissipate heat, like putting cold water in the tub. That helps. Keeping certain windows open, or if you can, and like looking at things that work for your specific suite. And looking at maybe carrying extra water, electrolytes, naloxone. Yes, ACORN.
Okay. And join ACORN.
And join ACORN.
A City of Calgary spokesperson told Unison TV the city is monitoring developments across Canada and will assess the successes and challenges associated with different approaches. In some jurisdictions, the work is taking shape through policies and bylaws that would require building owners to maintain at least one room in each rental unit below 26 degrees Celsius.